Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Jamie Lee, and I'm joined by my husband, Mr. Jared Lee. Hello, Jared.
Hello.
All right, here's my question. Here we go.
Okay.
Ramping it up here. How annoyed do you get when you have to pay for parking at like theme parks or at hotels? Like parking fees. Like, how much of a stickler are you to like want to not pay those?
I mean, I love paying for parking. I don't know what you're talking about. It's fantastic. I don't know if anybody likes paying for parking. It is one of the things that I mean, we don't pay for it much considering we have APs at both Disney and Universal, so we don't really typically pay for it when we're doing that.
But if we stay on property, though,
at Universal, right. I do hate it with hotels. I mean, places just do it. It's a nuisance. I don't enjoy it. It seems like the right to just have your car set in a place for a while is a lot of fun.
Well, do you think they'll ever get rid of the parking fees at the Lowe's hotels for Universal? I really like. I mean, I don't know why they would. At this point, I
don't see him doing it. I mean, I'm still surprised that Disney actually dropped theirs because when you look at like with their fast pass, it is basically fast pass, but lightning lane, multi-pass, all these things like that. When they're asked about it, they say, well, our pricing is very much in line with everyone. Basically, they're just saying, like, everybody else does this, we're doing it too.
Yeah.
But the only thing they don't do it on is the hotel parking, which is odd because most major corporations, once they see a revenue stream, like, they're not going to give it up. So I was surprised that they took away the parking at the hotels for Disney. So I mean, I don't know. At some point, I do expect them to bring it back. I really do, because I just feel like it's just such a thing everybody else does, and they would be justified in doing it. But I'm glad that they don't. But in terms of like Lowe's, I don't see any reason that they would.
I mean, there's going to be parking fees at Terra Luna and Stella Nova.
I mean, they all do it.
Helios will have it too. You know, I don't remember what the price is for standard parking at City Walk. I want to say it's 30 or 35 now. It's more expensive than Disney, actually.
Yeah, I think it is cheaper if you go like after a certain time, maybe.
I think after 6.
I think after a certain time, it's free.
Is it after 6?
I don't remember.
We've never done it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I could be completely wrong. Somebody will let us know. But I mean, parking fees are, they're not cool. I'm not okay with them. This is why I don't like going downtown places, because you can't park anywhere.
Parking is
because everything is like, if you want to park in a parking garage, it's like $20. Or you can still pay $10 to basically be out in the boonies and walk for 10 minutes. So,
well, like I said, I don't know if Lowe's will ever get rid of theirs, but whenever I go to check in to one of the hotels when we're staying there at Universal, and they're like, the parking fee is so and so much a night, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I kind of forget about it at first, and I'm like, well, but I mean, I understand. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like,
I think
it's another cost.
The only way that they would ever get rid of it would be competition.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what makes anything change. So if another competitor or something forced them to sort of like have to adapt to it. But until that happens, it's part of it, I suppose.
Okay. Well, we've got a little bit of a interesting show today. So we were supposed to be talking about Halloween Horror Nights because we had planned on going this past Thursday. Well, that did not happen. I am having a tooth emergency, currently waiting to get it all the way fixed. So we weren't able to go on Thursday, but we will be going here hopefully the next week or two. There it is.
I was late on the sad trombone. I had to find it.
Hopefully we'll be going in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be able to review that and do an episode about it. But today, we're gonna switch to something different. And we're actually it's kind of connected to what we did on the Disney show. If you listen to that podcast on Thursdays, we're going to talk about the best times to go to Universal during the year.
Yes.
Which I think is important. I don't think we've ever done that. I don't think we've ever done an episode about this before. So
I don't know if we have.
Oh, okay.
Funny thing, when you do podcasts a lot,
you forget.
I have no clue.
Yep. You forget what you do.
Well, like people will say you say certain things on the show. I'm like, I'm not doubting you. I have no memory of saying that. I think I've said it before. I think my brain is just like, it can't, it's like, this is too much to try and remember.
Yeah.
So we're just going to do this and then it's gone.
We rely on y'all to tell us what we said.
I just I just have plausible deniability. I'm like, I don't know.
It's just too many words.
I don't think I said that.
I mean, we're like 520 something episodes of the Disney show. We got 60, 70. I think this is 70 of the Universal show. I've got almost 100 of the Trip Tales show. Like, there's a lot of talking, a lot of episodes to remember what we said. So it's hard.
Right. All that to say, I don't know if we've done this or not, but we're going to act like we never have because I don't remember if we did. So it's just as if it was brand new. And I just want to say, Jamie was very bummed because, again, we were leaving the next day to go to Halloween Horror Nights. And her tooth have been really bothering her. And then basically the dentist was like, we need to get you in right away, which is right. It was 1 o'clock, right smack when we were probably going to get into the parks and things like that. So.
And I wouldn't have had fun, probably dealing with the pain.
I mean, not that you haven't been fun, but you probably would not have had fun.
You say that with so much love.
I love you very, very much. I love you so very much, but it's hard to have fun when your tooth hurts, I'm sure.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. So that's all right. We'll get to it and then we'll do an episode about it. But today we're going to talk about when you should go to Universal during the year. And this is going to be a little bit different because we're going to actually talk about a little bit of Epic Universe coming next year. So that might influence what we say for 2025, but we'll see. Yeah. So
we also have some news we're going to talk about.
We do have a little bit of news. Not a lot, but just a little bit. So, but first we want to do some housekeeping real quick. We want to mention Club 32.
Yeah, if you want more content, if you want to contribute to the show, you can look at joining the exclusive Club 32, and it's basically like our own Patreon, but we host it on our own end. But we have additional content. We have the Club 32 show every Tuesday where we live stream and chat with everybody. We have the Cool Kids Kitchen live stream. We have the Clubhouse. We have live streams in park. We do room tours. There's 25% off CTM apparel and 1901 Candle Company products. There's meetups, there's private music loops, there's a private podcast feed, all sorts of fun things, private Facebook group, everything like that. So if you want to join there, you can go to ctmvip.com. We have monthly or yearly options, and you can even do a free trial if you want to try it out before you join. And we can also, if you do a yearly, you get a free t-shirt. So either way, you get something for free, and we have a meetup in a couple of weeks, actually. This is the 6th annual one we're doing, but we're doing 2 a year now. Mm-hmm. So those are always a fun part of Club 32 and hang out and just chill for a weekend, have some fun with everybody. So that's part of being in the group there. So again, if you want to check that out, you can go to ctmvip.com, and if you'd like to join, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get to some news. First thing is we'll talk about is Halloween Horror Nights 33 has kicked off, and so has the Tribute Store. It is now open as well.
It is. And like we said, we haven't been able to check this out. So
right.
I have heard Insidious is a very good, scary house. I have heard that.
Heard that was scary. Heard that Quiet Place was good. Ghostbusters wasn't as scary, but more fun. Obviously this is stuff that we're hearing secondhand. So
yeah,
we'll give our full review later.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that not all houses are attempting to be the scariest houses ever. I do like the idea that there are houses that are more story driven or a little bit lighthearted in that way. So, yeah. But I have heard from numerous people that Insidious is pretty freaky. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Pretty freaky, yes. And then also September 1st on the Back to Hogwarts celebration they do kind of every year. More details were revealed about the Harry Potter and the Battle of the Ministry ride queue mostly, but some about the ride. So we are going to talk a little bit about that. Jared did do a YouTube video about this. So if you haven't already watched that, go watch that and then come back and listen to this.
Actually, finish this and then go watch that.
Whatever you want to do.
You know what?
Whatever you want to do.
I'm not going to tell people to leave.
I mean, they can even come back. It's easy. It's fine.
They may never come back. That's the problem.
Okay, but anyway, so Jared, what did we find out a little bit about this queue that we didn't know before?
So I'm wondering if a lot of the stuff they talked about, it was in the same style as the video that Universal had released before. So I'm wondering if they just took part of that info just to put it in this Back to Hogwarts Day celebration. So they did this. I thought there was going to be a live stream, but I never could find the live stream, but they just released this video. And it was technically, this was on the Harry Potter, the video they put was their Harry Potter YouTube channel. Or the Wizarding World YouTube channel or something like that. But so it wasn't actually put out by Universal. So
it's got to go looking for it. Yeah.
A little bit. It was like when I made the video, I think that it only had like 5,000 views. I don't think a lot of people knew that it had been released yet. I mean, it's out there now. It's got a lot more views now. But so the things they went through was the Ministry of Magic Q. They showed some more concept art. So there are some images that we've already seen before, and I'll read through some of this here. So guests will enter the British Ministry of Magic via the Flu Network, arriving in the atrium. The giant space includes the restored Fountain of Magical Brethren statue, flying memos, which I thought was interesting because they are going to have flying memos, which I don't know how they're going to do it, and an enchanted weather ceiling. So what we did see in the original video, they are going to have that in there. So
awesome.
I'm curious. This is how I get with theme park stuff. Like, how are they going to do that? Like, how are you going to have that weather ceiling? I'm assuming it's like projection technology, but
probably.
And then they said guests will discover it's the day of Dolores Umbridge's trial. They also show Q areas where you're walking through like the locker rooms.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the locker room.
Yeah. So and then they have it says there are signs of Harry, Ron, and Neville in the locker room showing they are in training to be auras. And then there's a hall of ministers. So they're going to have those talking portraits, but they're going to talk to each other in this room.
Always a classic.
Always good. It says the room is lined with moving portraits and busts in Universal reference appearances by 1700s minister Gamp and 1900s minister Bagnold. So it's going to be basically all of them throughout history in there. They got a map room. Guests will walk through the Aura's headquarters, which is full of Easter eggs. It also includes a tribute to fallen Auras. And in the queue, there is a portrait of Alistair Mad-Eye Moody as well in there.
Yeah.
You're going to go through Umbridge's small office. Like, there's a lot of stuff in this queue.
So pink and so gold. It's like pink and gold.
Very gold, very pink. There is a new character, Umbridge's former house elf, Higgledy. And he's in the office packing up her stuff. And most of it is like different various areas of the concept are like getting into the elevators and stuff like that. It says then guests will board the lifts that will act as ride vehicles, taking them to the trial and then off course to the ministry. Guests will see the ministry archives and the Department of Magical Creatures.
So this picture of them, of like guests getting onto the elevators, and it's like the green tile basically and the gold, like that just looks just like the movie.
Right. Yeah.
Just like the movie.
Looks very movie accurate.
Oh my gosh.
They also said that Harry Potter characters never before featured in an attraction include Death Eaters, Corbin Yaxley, Walden McNair, and Amicus, and Alcedo Caro.
Electo.
Okay, I'm probably saying those terribly. As well as the Kingsley Shacklebot, who is the minister at the time that the ride takes place. And then they did confirm that they got Dame Imelda Staunton, I think is her name, who played her.
It plays Umbridge.
She did some exclusive footage for the ride itself. And that was kind of it. Yeah. They didn't really go into a lot of details they just showed some more concept art. They did show that her filming her scenes on like a green screen and things like that. But in terms of really more ride details, we got a little bit about like the memos and the ceiling, the weather ceiling, but not a lot of details still.
But I still like all those like concept art we get to see at the queue because it really does look cool. And this is going to be, I think this is going to function just kind of like Forbidden Journey does, where half of the attraction is the queue, is walking through Hogwarts. Walking through all those rooms. I think this is going to be similar to that. It
did give me those vibes. I was saying it reminded me of going through Hogwarts Castle for Forbidden Journey for that reason, which I do like that one. Same thing, Gringotts has some of that too, like where you're going through all these different things. So they do a very good job of this with their Harry Potter stuff. I'm curious about the ride time of this, how the vehicles work and operate.
They haven't released that information yet?
They have not. Okay. And I don't know if they will before. I mean, again, this is all kind of uncharted territory in terms of a new park and all these rides, as if they revealed more information before it opens. They may not. They may just leave it like it is. But I can just tell you from the building that the ride is in, it is so big. Like it literally is as big as the rest of the land. So it's a very intricate ride.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, all the money went into this because if you look at all the other lands, they all got 2 to 3 rides, if not more. And this one's getting 1 ride in a show in the Wizarding World. It goes to tell you they put all the money into this ride. at least for that land.
It looks to be really cool. So I'm very excited to see it. Very excited.
But that's all. Again, the video they released was like 4 minutes long.
Okay.
It wasn't a lot.
Right.
It was just a little bit of a continuation from what they'd already shared.
Okay. Cool.
And we still don't have an opening date.
Right. No opening date of the park, the lands, any of that. So just 2025 still.
Yeah, I am curious. I mean, if we get to the end of September and we don't have an opening date, I think early 2025 kind of goes out the window in terms of an opening date.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm getting scared. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting a little nervous, but
I mean, there's rumors that a land is behind. If I were to guess, looking at the construction progress, it's hard to know in terms of there's a lot of construction crews. I would guess Nintendo is a little bit behind. It is behind most of the other lands in terms of their theming, but they know how to build Nintendo lands as well. So part of me wonders, as they wrap up, let's say they get done with the Wizarding World first, that crew then moves over probably to say they move over to Nintendo. And same with Celestial Park, it's a bit behind, but a lot of this stuff can get wrapped up fairly quickly. So I don't know. I can't really tell a whole lot in the construction progress in terms of if a land is behind. That is one of the rumors out there. But again, I would assume there would be some sort of information about when the park will open at least before Thanksgiving.
I would hope so.
I mean, because they're going to want people, again, most people do a lot of their planning for the next year. And, they're with family. Hey, let's go on this vacation. So one would assume around that period. So that, they got 2 months-ish before they probably will release something. But, as of now, no opening date.
Okay. Well, we're not going to talk about any other news because there's really not anything. Everything is about Halloween Horror Nights right now. So again, we're going to save that for a future episode. But we are going to talk about when you should go to a Universal Orlando for a discussion today. The best times to go. And we're going to talk about when the best times to go would be for crowd levels, weather, and special events.
Yes. So we'll talk about our personal favorite time to go as well.
Yeah. So let's start with the best times to go for crowd levels. So first one, do you want to start, Jared?
Sure. It's one that you may not expect, and a lot of people are surprised to hear this lately, but the summer.
I'm telling you.
Crowd behavior has sort of shifted. It used to obviously be the summer was always the busiest time of year. But a lot of people have changed their traveling habits, or much people are willing to pull kids out of school now. Mm-hmm. So summer has been the last, I would say, probably 5 or 6 years has been
ever since COVID.
Definitely since
sure.
COVID,
mm-hmm.
Summer has been less crowded than many other times of the year, which sounds weird. Yeah. Now you do have the heat, so that is something as well, but. Mm-hmm. You typically a lot of times in June, July, August, you're going to see lower crowds than you would have, let's say, 10 years ago.
Yeah. And something to think about too is that there's a lot of rides that they close during the winter months because it's not warm enough outside. But those rides too will be taken up by a lot of the people that go to the park. So Dudley do rides, mm-hmm. The Popeye one. Bilge Rat barges, the Jurassic Park River Adventure, rides like that normally don't have a lot of people in line. I mean, those they'll rack up the wait times for those rides. So that's something that absorbs a lot of people too, making it seem not as crowded for the other ones. So That's something to think about. Next one, best time for crowds is January, right after Christmas, kind of into the next, I guess semester for college kids and getting back to school for everybody else. January tends to be, pretty, not dead. I mean, it's not dead anymore, but pretty good on crowds. Except for Martin Luther King weekend. That one is kind of busy, but everything else is pretty good.
Yeah, there can be. Universal doesn't have as much stuff like Disney has the marathons that they do that can bring a mm-hmm. lot of people in, and they've done that on purpose during what used to be slow times. Yeah. Universal hasn't done that as of yet, so they still January is still a time period to where it relatively low crowds. Obviously depends, but
yeah, that's true. But something that I was gonna think about, and they don't do this anymore, but they used to have the celebration of Harry Potter in January. There was like this whole big weekend thing, and it brought like a bunch of people. They no longer do it, but that was something that happened in January. No longer does, but
true. That's very true.
What's another time for the best crowds?
April and May typically are pretty good in terms of crowd wise.
I mean, you're coming off of like Easter. There's no more spring break. May's pretty chill.
May can be, yeah. It depends on the spring breaks where they fall. Well, and a lot of people probably would assume, we've talked about the Disney show, like this time of year being one that is relatively low crowds, but we actually don't agree because why, Jamie?
Well, in shifting over to best time for events, one of them is Halloween Horror Nights, and that is a good time to go for an event, but not so great for crowds.
Yeah, and Halloween Horror Nights has become very, very popular.
Yeah,
and it brings people in even during the day.
Oh, for sure.
So obviously,
people will do like they'll be at the park all day, take a little bit of a break, and then come back and do it all night, like the Halloween Horror Nights.
So for that reason, it's not typically you would say, oh, when kids are going back to school, obviously people aren't traveling, except for Halloween Horror Nights. People definitely do come out for those for sure.
And it runs August 30th through November 4th this year, so it's over 2 months long, which is a pretty long time. And something to think about with Halloween Horror Nights is that Universal Studios Florida Park, it closes at 5. So if you are coming during this time of year, you're not going to Halloween Horror Nights, you're going to have to get out of that park pretty early. I mean, you can still go over to Islands of Adventure and City Walk and stuff, but the hours are kind of limited there. So it does make the crowd seem a little bit heavier sometimes if they're all going over to Islands, if they don't go to Halloween Horror Nights. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and City Walk can be kind of a party as well because Halloween Horror Nights is definitely, it's not for little kids, so you got a lot of people in there just, having a good time.
Yeah.
So City Walk can get busy.
The only caveat I'd say for that, saying like it's busy but it's still a good time to go, is Mondays and Tuesdays. Because Mondays and Tuesdays, they don't do Halloween Horror Nights.
Right. You find little pockets.
So that's a little pocket. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, on the days they don't have it, those can still be pretty good. But, if you're going to go for a week, you might find yourself being like, I don't know. It's, it's kind of busy for that if you're not doing Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah. So what's another event that people would like to go to?
Well, there's the Rock the Universe. So this is their Christian music festival that they do in January. So January 24th and 25th. If you want to go check that out. I mean, there's lots of youth during this time period in the parks, but they do set up a big stage in the middle of basically over there by Central Park.
Yeah.
At least they did last year.
Well, yeah, they've got stuff in City Walk. I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
They used to do this at Disney, and then they moved it over here to Universal. So
yeah. So if that's something that interests you, then this is definitely the place to be for that. Universal Mardi Gras, International Flavors of Carnival, is February 1st through March 30th. And I feel like it's shorter this year and years past. One year it was like 4 months long. I
actually think it's very much like Food and Wine we talk about with Disney. I think being shorter will help it because it went on so long that it kind of lost its like uniqueness.
Yeah.
I think when festivals drag on too long, it just sort of, it's like, it's there. Like there's no urgency to go versus when something's a little shorter, there is a bit more urgency for people. But
true. And, you can check out the special food and the drinks. You've got the Mardi Gras parade, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. You've got the concert series. They do that on most Saturdays. It's not all of them, but it's most Saturdays during the festival. So that kind of brings people in, and they usually have some pretty good acts too.
Well, they got Universal Music Group, so they've got access to some acts. There was a lot. I think it was 2021, or I can't remember which one. They had a lot of musical acts, but nobody was touring at that time because of COVID and stuff. But
that's right.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy Mardi Gras more and more. And if you're thinking about going to Universal and you've never done a Universal this festival, which really this is the main festival that they do in terms of like with food.
Yeah.
So I mean, Halloween Horror Nights has a food aspect to it, but this would be the closest thing to like say a Food and Wine festival like Epcot does is their Mardi Gras.
I think so. Mm-hmm.
And it's gotten much better over the years consistently with their food. So I am excited to see how they're going to do it this year. But it's a unique thing that, it's its own thing. It's not copying what, Disney does necessarily. It's got a lot more party atmosphere. It's got more unique aspects to it. So, it can be a little busy. Relatively, that would be a pretty slowish time of year, probably. Obviously, if you're going to be here on a weekend during Mardi Gras, it's going to be very busy.
Yeah, it will.
During
but
the
it's
week,
still going on. So
during
good.
the week, not so bad. Because, again, it's locals will come because it becomes like a party atmosphere type thing.
Yep. So what's another event?
All right, now you have pass holder appreciation days. So this goes from August 15th through September 30th. And it's what it sounds like. It's just them saying, they're doing things for the pass holders as like a thank you. So you get...
So get your butt down here, pass holders.
Yeah, so you do have pass holder nights that are involved with this, which are essentially almost like an after-hours event. You register for, and you get to stay in the park a little later.
It's included. You don't have to pay for that.
Right, it is free. Yes. And then along with that, they have special discounts, special park entrances, food and drink items you can get if you're an AP, buttons, magnets, etc. So if you are an annual pass holder, that is something that, would you say it would be worth a trip to plan on its own? I feel like it'd be one of those things that if I was already thinking about going and this was going on and I was an AP, I might be tempted to go check it out.
Yes, I would just do it with when Halloween Horror Nights falls.
Yeah.
And just do both of those. You know what I mean? Like I would try to do at the same time, which could work for sure.
Yeah. And like we said, you got Halloween Horror Nights, and then you also have the holidays, of course, at Universal.
The holidays at Universal Orlando. Yeah. So this runs November 22nd through December 31st this year, which is a little bit shorter. Usually, I want to say they started a couple weeks earlier in the past, but that's okay.
But Thanksgiving is following late this year.
I know.
So I'm wondering if that's the reason.
Thanksgiving is November 28th, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is starting just 6 days before that, and runs to the end of December. But you have things like the Macy's holiday parade, I think is what they call it. You've got the Grinch show, Grinchmas Hula Day Spectacular. You've got the Grinch breakfast, the character breakfast, decorations all up. Special merchandise, the big tree.
You always had the tribute store as well.
The tribute store, absolutely.
And that's for you got Christmas.
Well, that's true. You got a Christmas tribute store, Halloween Horror Nights tribute store, and what's the other
Mardi
one?
Gras.
Mardi Gras tribute store.
And then they do a summer one, typically. Like this past summer, they did the retro summer one.
Which is still open.
Yeah. That's one thing I like about the tribute store is that it's always changing. So no matter when you go, it can be something new to go check out.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's going on until then. But what about weather?
Well,
weather-wise,
in Florida, your best times, if you're going for the weather, probably November through April, maybe parts of May, depending on the year. But November through April are going to be pretty prime for like really good weather. So basically during the day, it's still relatively warm in the 60s, sometimes 70s.
Yeah.
And then like once the sun goes down, you may need a jacket, be a little cooler, but it's very comfortable. The humidity, I'm not going to say it's nothing, but it's much, much, much lower. So it's much more comfortable. You don't have to worry about just sweating and being in the hot, hot sun like you do in the middle of the summer. So if you're coming for weather, November through April for sure would be the best times for that.
Yeah. I think so. I'd like having like a jacket or a sweatshirt at night during the winter months, which is kind of cool. And then it doesn't rain as often in the winter. December is notoriously drier, so you usually don't have to worry about the rain, whereas you would have to worry about that like right now in August and July.
Yeah. Coming from the Midwest, I've always hated winters, and now I enjoy them because the weather. And again, it is one of those things, though, when it is in the wintertime in Florida, like you will be totally fine during the day. But when that sun does go down, it will get remarkably chillier. Like it'll probably drop 10 degrees. It's much more like, in the summer here, even when it's dark, sometimes it'll still be in the low 90s. It's not the case in the wintertime.
Oh, yeah.
That temperature will drop, and then you'll find yourself, and really with the humidity down here too, it'll feel colder than it even is.
It does.
So that's the thing. If you're coming in during that period of time, I would probably have something to have at night, just because it may get chillier than you anticipate. But it is still, it's my favorite time to go to the parks is during that time period.
Absolutely. Switching over to the worst times to go, and we'll just really quickly for weather. I'm gonna pick the summer because it's really hot. It's still really hot right now, and it rains pretty much every day. And then you have the risk of hurricanes, like June, July, August, September, October. Like those are the big months for that. So there's always the potential for that.
Which it doesn't scare me as much as it can put a hamper on your plans.
That's exactly
so,
yeah.
So yeah, if you got plans, it could always be, and that's never fun when it does happen, or if you get to the parks and say you can't get home right away because of stuff like that. So that is a risk you do run, during hurricane season for sure. And it's just, again, it's going to be hot, humid, and rainy.
Yep.
And lately it's been very rainy.
Very rainy. It rained. It just poured. It's just buckets of water just smushed down onto the ground.
I hope it was water.
Yes, it was.
When you specified water, I was like,
buckets of rain.
I was worried of other things.
No. And as far as worst times to go crowd level wise, we talked about Halloween Horror Nights because it's busy with that event. And it is their biggest event of the year. So, of course, it's going to be busier. But also really, honestly, weekends are a struggle sometimes because there's a lot of locals that come in during the Saturday and Sunday, and then sometimes Friday.
Although Sunday evenings can be not as bad because people, obviously not staying up as late. So, but typically weekends are a little, busier year round in general. Yeah.
What's another time that's not good?
Well,
as far as crowds,
2 weeks around Christmas and New Year's are going to be very, very busy. Mm-hmm. So those are going to be, granted, I have enjoyed Christmas more and more at Universal the more we've been going, and I do enjoy what they do, but it's very busy. So if you are going to go, just be prepared to you're going to have the crowds. But there's other things to do. You do have things to go see more. Like if you're wanting to just ride rides, it's going to be a lot of high wait times, but there is Christmas stuff you can check out and parades.
For sure.
Different things like that.
And then spring break, early mid March to mid April. Big spring break time, and it does get really crowded. And when I say crowded, I mean like it's crowded at Volcano Bay, it's crowded at Islands of Adventure mostly, and then Universal Studios Florida gets it too. But Islands really sees a huge boom in attendance.
And you see like break. School groups,
a lot of school groups.
Yeah, and honestly, you want to avoid Grad Bash.
Okay, yeah, we need to talk about Grad Bash. Actually, why don't you just go ahead and rant about Grad Bash, Jared?
Well, so when do they do? Obviously, graduation's around May.
It's in April and May is when they.
So
do those.
This is dedicated nights that they do. I believe it's for the local high schools where it's just high school kids get to.
Oh, and junior high, they're in there too.
They are.
Yep, they do it too.
Lots of youths, if you will, that are going to the parks. I would avoid these at all costs if it was me. Listen, you may sound, Jared, you sound like a grumpy old man. When I was in high school, I didn't like high schoolers. When I was in college, I didn't like college kids. So I've kind of always been this way. I've been pretty consistent most of my life in terms of that. So my attitude hasn't changed about it. Have your fun. They're kids, but I would say a little bit rowdier in the parks. You also run the risk. I've had this happen where you get the youngins in groups together trying to impress some girls, and they got to stop the rides periodically because people won't listen to directions. People are standing up, so there's just a lot more. I guess you could say there's a lot more energy. In it, some of that energy can be very as kids go. So if it was me personally, I would avoid spring break and Grad Bash basically at all costs. If it was me planning a trip. But, it's not going to I don't think it's going to ruin your trip, but you may just have additional things to, be mindful of when you're there if those are going on.
Okay.
Did I say that nicely?
You said that nicely.
I didn't want to be super mean. I was a kid once too, but I respected authority and people. I don't know.
Another, before we give you our favorite times of year that we like to go, we want to mention the Orlando Informer events that they do. Mm-hmm. They do this, 1, 2, 3, 4 times a year now. And it's like it's an after hours event. It's like a separate ticket that you have to pay for. It's not, it's in Universal, but the Orlando Informer is the host basically. And like I said, these happen 4 times a year. And if you really want low crowds, like this is the best time to ride all the rides, get all the food, etc. And we've wanted to do one for a long time, but it is expensive though. So we'll say like there is a price for it. But if you're looking for
how much do they run?
I mean, at least $250 a ticket.
Okay.
At least.
Yeah. Granted, well, part of it is there's little crowds, but there's also foods included.
Yeah, food's included.
So they have extra stuff in there with it. We'll do one of these days, but I have heard nothing but good things about them.
Yeah.
And they're very low crowds. They do limit it to quite a bit. So it's basically a private party that an Orlando Informer puts on. They rent out the space. You just basically pay to attend the party.
Yeah.
And they do multiple ones of them per year.
But they the best times to go, because they do it in February. I think it's early February. They do it the beginning of June. This year they had beginning of August. Mm-hmm. And they also do it in November and December, kind of the last couple weeks in November and early December. So, I mean, personally, I think I'd choose to do it around the Christmas time, see all the Christmas decorations at night and stuff like that. I mean, it's cool.
If I had to choose one, that would be, you get the weather's good, you got the Christmas stuff, so that would be a good one. But that can be a legitimate thing if you're wanting to come to the parks and have low crowds. I mean, you could plan a trip around that just because, again, I've heard nothing but good things from people that have done it. Mm-hmm. And again, you'll have, I mean, is both parks or just one park when they do it?
I believe it's both.
Okay, I think it is both.
Yeah.
So you can do both Islands and Universal Studio side. Get a lot. I mean, you basically could probably ride almost everything, considering it's mostly walk-ons.
Yeah, and you have like the only one that's not a walk-on that I've heard is Hagrid's.
What? That's crazy.
Hagrid's is never a walk-on, but they have like special characters out too. But anyway, so I'll put this in the show notes if you want to look at the link to that. But yeah, that's something I wanted to add in about that. What is your favorite time to go?
Well, it's definitely not the summer.
No.
Too hot. Just for me, you basically tolerate the summer. When you live in Florida, you tolerate the summers to have the winters, is how I like to put it. So, and every year Jamie always goes, we're not going to go to the parks as much, and then we're in the parks just as much.
We really didn't this year.
We did.
We really didn't.
Which I've actually become rather like, I used to work in a warehouse, had no AC. I used to live in a house that didn't have air conditioning. I'm pretty used to heat. It doesn't actually bother me that much. But if I had to choose, I'd rather not go to the parks when it's, a balmy 98 degrees. But my favorite time is, I love Christmas. Mm-hmm. So I would say anytime in the winter, I'm all about it. But I would say my favorite is Christmas. Like I said, the way that ever since we've been doing Universal, that's one thing I've kind of figured like, oh, they have Christmas stuff, but whatever. But I really have enjoyed what they do. Like the Grinch stuff is really unique. You have that show. That is a great show, by the way. It's the type of show that you would assume quality-wise you would pay for. It's that good. And then, they got the decorations up. They have the parade. So I do enjoy it. So I would say Christmas time and just in the winter because the weather's great. You got the ambiance. Yeah, that's what I would say. What about you?
I mean, I'd have to agree. Christmas is my favorite for everything, basically. The Grinch alone being like the mascot of Universal Christmas just makes me happy. That and Earl the squirrel.
Earl is some Universal lore.
I do like Earl
the Grinch meet and greet is one that if you can do it's a great one to do.
Like it's one of those that if you can get in line for it, you're going to be in line for a couple hours at least.
Yeah.
To meet this guy.
It's a lot. And we've done the Grinch breakfast before. Now they've changed it since we've done it. But I mean, I'm sure there's multiple people that play the Grinch. They're all great. Yeah. So it is a good time. In terms of the pricing nowadays, you're going to pay to do it. It's expensive. Yeah. But it is a unique thing. And it's kind of one of those like, I'm glad we did it, but I'm not really dying to do it again sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad we did it the way we did it before the price just hiked up and they moved it to a different place and all that stuff. But yeah. But maybe we'll do it again in a couple of years or so. But
yeah.
It's pretty fun.
It's definitely a really popular one now, for sure.
Yeah.
But second, again, anytime in the winter, like January, February, like I like all as long as it's not super hot, like I'm pretty cool with it. And now, especially with us, like we're Premier Pass holders. Mm-hmm. So as a perk, you get Express Pass after 4 included in your pass. So it's one of those things when it comes to Universal is sometimes we just wait until 4:00 to do most of the stuff anyways, which makes the park going side of things like in terms of rides and things, like much easier.
And I would say that is the only reason I would like choose to go in the summer at Universal, because of that. Because in the summer, it's usually open later.
Yeah.
So we have more time to use our Express Pass.
True.
So that's the only reason, because during the winter, sometimes the parks close at like 7.
Yeah.
Sometimes 6. And I was like, oh, that's not a long time to use her stuff.
Yeah.
But that's
Agreed.
all right. But anyway, so anything you want to add? Anything we didn't, any time of year we didn't mention?
Well, you had brought it up earlier, but do you want to discuss how this could change, let's say, like Epic Universe?
That is definitely, we should talk about that. So we don't know, like we said, we don't know when Epic Universe will be opening. But we do know that the crowds will increase across the board whenever Epic Universe does open, because there's more people coming to Epic Universe. So there'll be more people coming to the other parks as well. So,
right.
Yeah. So are you asking, what do you think?
Well, I guess the question would be, does anything we're saying now change that when it comes to when Epic Universe is open? I would say
the summer, if they open in the summer. Yeah.
Well, I would say it definitely, like, with Epic Universe, likely, let's just say the baseline is Epic Universe will be open by the summer in some capacity. I would then say the summer is probably not the best time to go in terms of crowds, because I think it's going to be slammed. Now, Epic Universe could mess up the flow of this stuff for years. The demand could be so high, but you probably still would have pockets in there in the winter, probably as well, given it would be more susceptible to like when school's back in session on some level. So you might find a little bit of a lull. Like, let's say the summer's really high. You might get a little bit of a lull between summer and, like, say, Halloween Horror Nights maybe. But Epic Universe could throw all this for a loop. So this is good for now. And then when it's Epic Universe opens, obviously that could change all of it. And we'll have to wait and see how bookings look and crowds look. But it could be one of those situations. Again, when the Wizarding World opened in 2014, they saw an impact of, I think it was almost 40%, 35% increase in attendance that Universal sustained. So it wasn't like it peaked and then it just fell back to where it was. Like they sustained it. So if Epic Universe is as big of a success as I think it could be, and likely is, you very well could just see more people are just going to come to Universal year over year in perpetuity. So it would change a lot of this as well. So, and not to mention they're going to be adding more stuff into the existing parks also. So this will be one of those things where it's accurate as of now. Mm-hmm. I would say by summer of 2025, this all could just be not accurate at all anymore, because we just don't know.
Or just on a different level.
It could still be accurate, but yeah, like you were saying, just the levels. Like it's less crowded in January than it is in July, but it's not as
everything.
But let's say 2 years ago in January, it was much less crowded than it is now, sort of thing. So
yeah, we'll have to see. Hopefully they announce an opening date for Epic Universe very soon, and we can start planning, because I would love to start planning vacations and stuff there and our days there. And
I mean, I'm just curious. Obviously I want to know when it's going to open. I also want to know what, our annual pass holder is going to be able to go. How's that going to look? Like there's a lot of questions where it's really hard, which is why I'm hoping they come out and say something very soon, because it's very hard to even, like, for us, like, we start planning things about what we're going to do months in advance sometimes. And it's like, okay, Epic Universe, like, is it going to open early? It's really, like, we're getting toward the end of the year now where it's like, I'd like to know in terms of, like, maybe what we're looking at. But obviously I'm excited about it, but we'll have to see what they end up doing. The rumors being you got to buy multi-day tickets and only one day here and there, stuff like that. But
well, speaking of, the construction and like when it's going to open everything, if you haven't already, you should check out the YouTube channel Cap the Magic, where Jared dives deep into the construction videos and the pictures out there of what's going on with Epic Universe. So if you haven't already, you should check those out. They're good. Yeah. Bio Reconstruct, anytime he drops pictures, which I think he's got another, I saw a picture he posted the other day, so he probably has another batch of them. So we kind of go through and we can compare them to the last update to see where, what progress is being made. They're making fast progress. They are building quickly. Yep. They're doing ride testing on most of the attractions. Again, Super Nintendo World is the farthest behind, but in terms of the roller coasters, I believe all the roller coasters in the park are ride testing constantly. That's awesome.
So you can always see those going through.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I mean, somebody asked the other day when construction would wrap up. Obviously, I don't know, but going off of Steve Tatham, who had, again, months ago gave an interview that they were looking to wrap up construction for sure by the end of the year. That doesn't mean the park's going to open by that point, because I'm sure there's lots of things that go into opening a theme park beyond just like the construction you can see. But that timeline seems plausible at this point, unless, you hope that there's no big hurricane that comes through and like delays stuff like that. But yeah, so it's all kind of, Universal doesn't really say a whole lot.
They don't.
They kind of let the conjecture and rumor mill kind of go on that end. So until Universal says anything, obviously all this is just a guess. But
it's true.
Yeah.
But also, if you do want to subscribe to that channel, you can. And subscribe to CTM Podcast, where we actually have video versions of what you're currently listening to. And if you're watching us, go ahead and subscribe.
And like the video.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's at CTM Podcast on YouTube.
Yes. Yeah. And you can catch our other shows on the network. We've got the Capture the Magic podcast Disney version of the show, which is on Thursdays with Jared and I. I do Trip Tales once a month, and I have another one coming out here I think 2 weeks from today, and you can catch that over on the Disney feed. And I do ctmtriptales.com if you want to sign up to be a guest. If you have a trip that's coming up and I'm interested in learning more about it, I will contact you and we'll get that going. What else? Oh, shirts. ctmapparelco.com if you want to check those out. We have some new designs actually coming out.
Yes, we have some past Halloween favorites that are back in the shop, and some brand new Halloween ones that are in the shop as well. Plus, if you're going to the meetup in a couple weeks, the meetup shirts are on the website also, so you can get those in the same thing. But yeah, ctmapparelco.com. And again, if you're a Club 32 member, you get 25% off right now off of candles and shirts. You get that year-round. Plus, if you're not a Club 32 member, but you're a listener of the show, which we greatly appreciate, if you go use the promo code FALL, on any of the orders, you'll get 15% off of your order right now. So you can get a little bit of discount there. And we print in-house, design in-house. All of it's done in-house. We ship out to you. So it's all very high quality. And, if you're one of those people that enjoys people making it by hand and not just being made by some faceless corporation or, giant company, then yeah, you should check out our shirts.
I should probably take that bag off my head whenever I pack up the orders then, right? Is it faceless?
That's why I made you take it off. Because I was like, no, we're not a faceless corporation. Take the bag off. I don't know how you were doing it with the bag on, if I'm being honest.
It was very, very difficult.
Yeah, I figured breathing was an issue, but yeah.
Also go follow us on the socials, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, etc. We are Cap the Magic everywhere except for TikTok. We're Capture the Magic. And yeah, I think that's it.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening or watching. And thank you, Jared, for being here.
You're very welcome.
And as I always like to say, we will see you in the parks.
Bye.